and welcome to episode 4 or 5, I've lost count, of the Northwest Counties, cheers Martin, Football League video podcast. We're here again post-Christmas, but pre-New Year, just at the time of recording, to preview a few forthcoming games over the next week or so, and maybe have a look at a few bits and bobs as we reach the symbolic changing of the year. So joining me this week, first up, either underneath me or to the left or to the right of me, depending on who's recording and what's going on, is Mr. Alex Thrower, who is the Northwest Counties League Media Officer. Hi Alex, you all right?
Hello, delighted to be here. Lovely to see you both. Hope you had a good Christmas.
Yeah, it was certainly bearable. Certainly that.
And that's all we can ask for.
Also joining me today is League Director and League Results Coordinator. It's Mr. Martin Fallon. Hi, Martin.
Hello, Gary. You okay?
Yeah. How was Christmas in Portugal, Peru, or Prestatyn?
It was good. Same as your not Yorkshire. What's it called? Sunday roast type thing. Yeah, it's lovely. Turkey, pigs in blankets. Best part of Christmas. So yeah, just the same.
Excellent stuff. Okay, gents, right, so for this particular podcast, I think we're all up against the clock because we've actually had to drag Martin out of a Peruvian, Portuguese or Welsh coffee house to get him here tonight. Alex will be getting called for his tea soon.
I completely forgot we were recording, so I went out for a walk and then it was like, are we almost ready? I was like,
Absolutely raced back, Martin.
So race back, yeah. I'm a bit perspiring at the minute.
It's the pressure of having to perform.
Yeah.
So just to say from the start, my research is zero because I forgot we were recording. So I'm winging it.
I don't think anyone on this, they never do.
No one
high levels of prep or otherwise. Okay, so what we'll do, there aren't too many fixtures, thankfully, going forward. So we'll start with the Premier Division. We'll do our usual review of the games that are forthcoming over the next week or so. Myself, Alex and Martin will all pick a game each from each division. We'll have a little look at a preview of it, if Martin can figure out which games he was supposed to review.
Well, I was actually doing the rest. Usually having a game because there's not that many games, to be honest. So
it's not too bad, or it's not too good, depending on what you're after. Yeah,
indeed. Because originally it was a free week, so all these games this coming bank holiday are sort of rearrangement games, that have been postponed in November or December.
So mercifully, they have given us some games to watch though over this coming week, so that is useful. Okay, so but we'll go straight into the Premier Division. I'll read the fixtures out first. So we've got on Monday the 3rd, we've got Prestwich Hayes versus Macclesfield. We've got Lowbreck versus Wythenshawe Town, Runcorn Town versus Avro, oh dear, and Winsford United versus Skem. A quick fast forward to Tuesday, not doing. However, on Wednesday, we've got Litherland Remica versus AFC Liverpool, a very local derby, that one, and Longridge Town versus Ashton Athletics. So there's a fair bit to choose from there in the Prem. Alex, I'll hand the mantle over to your good self.
Can I go first? Because then I can look at my second game while I'm doing the first one.
Oh, that's not a bad.
I thought there. Yeah, you go for it, Alex. You it's more research while Martin gives us his overview.
So
won't be too precious about it.
It's going to be a bit crap because, like I say, I've done no research. But my first game was Prestwich against Macclesfield. Prestwich in 17th place in the table coming into the games. Macclesfield sitting pretty at the top. And Skelmersdale didn't play last week. Their game was off because of COVID. So Macclesfield's win against Winsford United basically extended their lead at the top of the Premier Division. I'll just quickly look at the league table here, which is somewhere gone.
Do we know when Macclesfield and Skelmersdale meet? Is that coming up?
I will have a look in a minute. But yeah, Macclesfield.
Luke, while you're sorting that out, Martin.
End of January, I've just looked.
Yeah, 29th of January.
Big game up.
Yeah, at Macclesfield. So it'll be another sellout. Speaking of sellouts, Macclesfield did break the Premier Division attendance record in their last game against Winsford. I think it's 4,323. So got to say hats off to them, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, fair play.
great achievement, really is.
Huge.
If you think the league, this is what the 40th year of the league, so you can't argue with that. Really can't. So yeah, Macclesfield, you know, they come into this game in great form, extended their unbeaten run at home in the last game against Winsford. They had to come from behind to do it. It looked like a close game, you know, looking through the Twitter feed the other day, but they eventually got over the line. They won 2-1, and like I say, they're on great form. One thing I would say, sort of about Macclesfield though, is that it's their away sort of form that's, I'd say, letting them down. It's hard to say letting them down, but you know, they've had 11 games away from home and they've only won 5, drew 4 of them. Both their defeats have come away from home, so you know, it's that away form they're going to have to improve to keep that gap from Skelmersdale. As for Prestwich, you know, they've lost 3 out the last 4 games in all competitions, 2 of those coming at home. So, you know, you possibly favour Macclesfield in this one. I know it's with Prestwich as well. Obviously, it doesn't count towards games, but I think it was 6 out of their last 8 games have been postponement. So they've only played actually twice since the end of November. So you could say that, you know, they're a little bit short of match fitness perhaps and stuff. It's all well and good training a couple of times a week, but, you know, they've actually fell behind in number of games played in the last month or so. So yeah, I personally would go with Macclesfield on this one to carry on their run, really.
Yeah. Do we think that Macclesfield's away form possibly has anything to do with them having a 4G pitch?
Well, I've thought for a long time, you know, that helps. You look at the top 7 in the league at the minute. You've got Macclesfield, Skelmersdale, Burscough, Avro, and Lower Breck. That's 5 of the top current 7 that are on 3G pitches. I have to say, they're called 3G, not 4G.
3G.
I
apologise.
There's no such thing as 4G. It's a common misconception. So basically, all the they use it for marketing purposes, but there's only ever 3G. We haven't got to 4G yet. We're not like phone maths people.
Got it. I will bear that in
mind. So yeah, they might call it 4G, but officially it's all 3. But yeah, I've thought for a long time, you know, when Runcorn Town were going to the league a couple of years ago and Widnes pipped them, it was because of their home form. They were amazing at home, and you look through and, you know, I'm going to have to do a little bit of a study on previous sort of league tables and home form compared to away form, but it's a massive advantage. Even though every team train on 3G pitches throughout the week now, you know, getting used to playing games on it and how the ball bounces in a match situation, it's got to be an advantage, really.
Fair play, man. Any other games there that you want to go through as soon as you're doing the rest, or do you want to come back?
Yeah,
after we've got Alex.
Yeah, you do your other 2, and I'll look at the. I think Winsford Skems the other one I'm looking at. So I'll have a quick gander at that while you 2 are going through your games.
Over to you, Alex.
Yeah. So I've decided, I believe, for the 2nd week in a row, I have gone for Runcorn Town versus Avro.
I hope you're not a jinx and it gets called off again.
Yeah. We'll see. It's a bit of a mismatch, this one. It's 20th versus 6th. Runcorn, as we've discussed before, Martin, I know they're very dear to your heart. Obviously, haven't won at home yet this season. And do you think I don't see any way that even if they can build a bit of momentum, maybe they can escape the drop. They've got to do something about that home form, haven't they?
Oh, massively, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just this season. I know last season got curtailed, but we've not won at home for 13 months, which is astonishing. Really.
No.
I know last season got curtailed at January, so we didn't play January to August, but still, you know, it's last November. It's November 19 since Runcorn Town won at home, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really.
And, you know, lost away at Congleton, who are, you know, a very good side, but losing 4-1, I think they got a consolation just at the end. Never really looked in that fight. I think Avro, on the other hand, they won a really good game at Northwich Fix on Monday, 2-1. Again, came from behind in that. I think they were 1-0 down at half time and won 2-1. I think the big person that seems to have come through is Umar Kamara has been fantastic. He scored for the 4th game in a row. I think he's got 5 in his last 4 now. But I think Avro, it could be an interesting month for them. I think they've got some great momentum going. They might be able to just about challenge that top 2 of Macclesfield and Skelmersdale, but they've got 4 away games in a row now, and their away form has not been brilliant this season. So I think the next month could be really critical for them in deciding what sort of their aims are come the end of the season. Over to you, Gary.
Yeah,
Sorry,
on paper,
very abruptly there.
On paper, it's away banker, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think anything else, if Runcorn can get something from it, it's pretty impressive. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
Martin, do you think the club are a little bit concerned about the fact that Little and beneath them have got 2 games in hand? Is that a concern at the moment?
Well, I can't speak for the club. I can only speak for me, obviously, but I'd rather have points on the board, to be honest, than games in hand. Especially you'd rather have games in hand at the other end of the table. But if you're at the bottom end of the table and struggling to pick up points, you'd rather have them in the bank already, really.
Yeah, fair comment. I mean, that leads me on to the game that I'm going to preview, which is a game that I might try and get along to, actually, because on Wednesday, Little and Remica, as aforementioned, are hosting AFC Liverpool. This will probably be played still at Bootle. All I've noticed on social media today, we're recording this on Thursday, that Don Rimmer and a couple of the club volunteers at the Remy have been at Litherland Sports Park today to dig out some new dugouts. They've been playing at Bootle because there's been storm damage a wee bit earlier on in the season at the Litherland Sports Park, and that has facilitated the need to play at Bootle. It's not really done them too much good at the moment, but obviously it's kept them going. It's got them playing games, and also it's generated some reasonable crowds as well. However, for Litherland, they've lost the last 4 league games and they've leaked in 14 goals in the process of doing that. Overall, in the last 10 games, they've won 1, drew 1 and lost 8. So at the moment, the early momentum that they picked up with bringing in the likes of Colin McDonald in as manager, it's dropped off a wee bit, so they'll be keen to get that up. Obviously, they'll be hosting AFC Liverpool, who are unbeaten in the last 4. They've only had 1 defeat in the last 7 in all competitions. And Tuesday just gone, they drew 2-2 away at Lower Breck in quite a competitive game. A highly creditable draw at the end of the day as well, because they were up against it for the early part of the game. What did surprise me, though, we've just mentioned there about Remica being bottom of the table in 21st. I didn't realise that AFC Liverpool were down in 16th. And I think that surprised me a little bit, bearing in mind that AFC Liverpool have clocked up some good results and they do play good football. I've seen them a couple of times this season. So that surprised me a fair bit. So on that note, I'll move over to Martin. What's your next one, Martin?
Well, I didn't know you were doing a Wednesday game. That's cheating. I thought we were just cheating.
No, it's not cheating. It's games for next week. So as soon as we're scratching for games, let's chuck it in the mix.
Well, we've got to work on that communication.
Yeah, it means that Lower Breck versus Wythenshawe Town possibly won't get covered unless we come back to it. But anyway, so yeah, I was looking at Winsford United Skelmersdale. I mentioned Winsford, before their last game was at Macclesfield. They'll take a great deal of heart from that, I think. They narrowly lost 2-1. But yeah, they're on a bit of a weird run, Winsford. That they've only won 1 out the last 5 games, and that comes on the back of, I think they were 9 games unbeaten previous to that. So they have hit a bit of a slump. The home form, when you compare that to the away form, is better. They've won 6 out of 13 games at home. It's just less than half, but you account for draws. You've only lost 4 at home this season. But you've got to feel for them a little bit, haven't you? Facing Macclesfield and then Skelmersdale in successive games, just how the fixture list sort of worked out. Macclesfield, what am I on about? Skelmersdale, we were just talking about, wasn't we, whether you're better on your 3G pitches. They've actually got a better away record than they have a home record. They've won 8 on the road out of 12 games, which is the best in the league. Nobody else has won 7, let alone 8. Oh, tell a lie. China can run 7 on the road, but yeah, nobody's won 8 on the road apart from Skelmersdale this year. They've got the best away form in the league, and they're actually on a great run. At Skelmersdale, the 14 games unbeaten in the league, going back to the 28th of September, and in that run, they won 9 and drew 5. So Macclesfield going great runs, but so is Skelmersdale, really.
Yeah, fair play. Martin, shall we move on to Division 1 North?
Well, let's just try and wing Lower Breck versus Wythenshawe. Lower Breck, did you go to watch them the other day?
No, I was riddled with cold, hence sneezing. But I was keeping close tabs on it because I was doing a bit of website stuff at the time.
Yeah.
And the phone kept pinging. It was full of incident, full of goals, full of a bit of drama there at the end as well, and a decent crowd.
Yeah, I don't know if you went it. I think Paul Lawler went it, didn't he? I don't remember somebody.
Yeah, quite a few familiar faces. You look at Paul Moran's pictures, and my eyes always drift towards the crowd. I like to see you at these games, and there's quite a few familiar faces from the local clubs. So there's representatives there from the likes of Remy, Skerm, and others there as well. So Paul obviously was there to present the Respect Award, which he did so to Ian Gardner at the club. And fair play to Lower Breck. The hospitality is always great when I go there. And they know how to put on a match day. Yeah.
So obviously Lower Breck, they're at home. They've not won for a couple of games now, but it's not a bad recovery. That a 2-2 draw in a derby match, I guess. After a 7-0 away loss in the previous game. The home record's good. They've won 8 games at home out of the 12 that they played. So, you can't argue with that. Oh no, 14. Sorry, can't do maths. But yeah, they've won 8 out of 14 at home, which is good. Wythenshawe, 7th against 5th in the league. It should be a good game, this. But Wythenshawe, they're not too shabby on the road, really. Most of their points have come at home. They've only won 4 out of 12 games away from home, and they've lost the last 2 on the road. So, if they want to sort of challenge the top sort of 2 of Macclesfield and Skelmersdale, possibly not to get up there and win the league, but they're only 6 points off that playoff position, so they've got to have their eye on that, really. Then it's a big game for them. It's same as Lower Breck. It's a massive game, this one, really.
Yeah, it's decent. Just thinking on, actually, I'm off work that day, so I might have a little look at that myself. But I'll take my flask.
Yeah.
Not my flask. Okay, should we move on to Division 1 North? But we'll just keep them coming. So, fixtures-wise, on Monday, 3rd of January, I think there's only Monday where we've got fixtures, actually, for Division 1 North. So it's a triple header. First up is Bacup versus Pilkington. Then we've got Daisy Hill versus Bury AFC and Golcar versus Holker. So Alex, I'll throw it over to you, good self first, just in case Martin's got to do a bit of prep.
Yeah. I'll take that away. There's a lot of sort of top of the table clashes in that, so it should be a really, really good Monday. I'm actually back up north that day, so might just be back in time to get to a game, but we'll see. But the game I've gone for is Daisy Hill versus Bury. It's 13th versus 2nd. Bury obviously doing really well at the top. Have kept that going as well. They won 2-0 at Steeton on Monday, and by I wasn't watching the game, but from what I've heard of it, they didn't really need to get out of second gear for a lot of it. It was a very good win, especially so soon after Christmas. Daisy Hill, they have had, I think a difficult year, as all clubs have, but they've, went and won 4-2 in a local derby against Atherton LR. And I think they'll take great confidence from that. I think they've finished off the year pretty well. Managed also to score 3 times in 7 second half minutes, which was pretty impressive. And their first goal, I believe, came from a free kick with a foul given away after 8 seconds. So a pretty impressive game for them on Monday. I think when we look at Bury at the top of the table, not to dwell on them too much, but they are going to be up there. They are going to be right around the top, and I think anyone who competes with them right to the end will be very impressive. I think I took one very quick look at the sort of remaining fixtures coming up, and who do they travel to on the last day but Golcar, which could be an absolute barnstormer of a game. It could be a cup final, but it's difficult. It's really difficult to look beyond an away win here. I think Daisy Hill this definitely could come back to bite me, but I don't think they're in too much danger of relegation. I think if they get a bit of consistency, they should be completely fine. But stranger things have happened, and I'm sure they will give Bury a very good game. So
could save us having to dust off the league helicopter as well for the last day of the season. At least,
yeah,
two of the main contenders will be facing each other.
Not wrong.
It's interesting that you mentioned about Daisy as well. I mean, we've spoken all season really, both on these podcasts and sort of in dispatches about Daisy maybe underperforming and perhaps being in trouble at the bottom of the league. But a quick look at the table, we're in 13th at the moment, but they're only 2 points behind the team that are in 10th. And they've got a game in hand, at least one game in hand, on the sides above them. So they're not exactly out of the race, but I think we touched on last week the fact that the playoffs now, we are starting to see a bit of a shelving situation coming in. So it would be difficult now for a club to do it, but it's not impossible by any stretch.
Yeah, we are. I think Daisy Hill, I think they'll be disappointed not to be closer to the playoffs at this stage of the season. I think they've been unlucky in some games not to get 3 or even a point at some stage. I think if you're an optimist, you're definitely thinking, oh, it's 11 points to the playoffs. That is definitely gettable. We've seen stranger things than that happen, but I think realistically they are just keeping a slight eye behind them just to make sure they don't get relegated.
They had recruited well as well, but they've got a couple of good names in there. I think it's just taking them a little while to gel together. Martin, are you ready for Golcar?
I'll wing it. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Over to you, mate.
So yeah, Golcar, two teams that, as well as rhyming with each other, which is always nice.
Always fun.
They're doing great. Golcar, they had a good season last year. Well, they've been really good since they come into the league, I think. The crowds have been great. They've been up there sort of in the last couple of seasons that have been curtailed. But this year, they're really kicking on. The home form is fantastic. They've not played many at home, to be honest. I think they've only... let me click on this button here. They've only played 9 at home, which is not a lot, which you could say will favour them in the second half of the season, because they've obviously got a lot of home games coming up. 10 home games out the whatever they've got to play, 17, 15 they've got to play. So maybe that'll favour them in the running, like you say, particularly playing Bury at home, their last game of the season. But yeah, Golcar, the home form's fantastic. They've won 8 and drew 1 out of them home games. That obviously unbeaten at home, the same as Bury. They're the only 2 teams that are unbeaten. Holcar's away form decent, really decent. They've won 8 away compared to 6 at home, so you could argue that they actually like getting on that coach and going to away games. So they've won 8 out of 11 away games they played. So this one for me, it's really difficult to call. Golcar, they've been playing really well lately. Well, let me start with Holcar actually. So Holcar, they've been doing fantastic. They lost at Garstang last time out, but that's their first loss in the league since the 28th of September.
Ages ago, yeah.
Yeah, so fantastic. You look at previous years, it's very uncharacteristic for Holcar to be this decent. They're normally struggling at the sort of wrong end of the table, so you've got to praise the sort of staff there for recruiting really well. Golcar United, they had that surprise loss at St Helens Town the other week, but I think that's their first loss in ages, really. And it's 2 out the top 3. They're all going for the league.
Yeah,
Two out of sort of Golcar, Holcar, and Bury are going to be in the playoffs. And you've got to say what a fantastic playoffs that's going to be with 2 of them in it. Plus 2 other teams that are doing well. But this could be a great game. It's going to be a scoring draw for me. This, but
yeah. Would you say if Holcar can manage to get a win in that, it really does sort of, not saying they're not in it at the moment, but it really does become a 3-horse race for the title there.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-horse race anyway, because all of them clubs, like I say, that surprise loss at St Helens the other week. Bury have had a couple of slip ups on the road, not losing games, but sort of drawing games that you expect them to win. But I think all of them in the second half of the season are going to drop unexpected points. So these games are massive when they actually play each other. As the saying goes, the big 6 pointers really.
I'd be very surprised if Golcar didn't get Club of the Month as well, to be honest, for December, because they are on such a rich vein of form.
Yeah.
One game left in Division 1 North, which is mine. So it's Bacup, which club in 6th at the moment against 4th place Pilks. This one isn't being played on 4G. However, Bacup do go into this with only 1 defeat in the last 7, but the last 2 of those games have been draws, and they were the long away trips as well, so that they were draws at Cleatormore and at Ilkley. Bacup are currently 4 points behind 5th place Afc Blackpool, who at the moment currently occupy that last playoff slot, but Bacup do have a game in hand. As for Pilks, only 1 win in the last 5 games, a spell that includes 3 defeats. So it's safe to say that Pilks aren't in the best of form at the moment. And for me, that's what's ruled out a top 4 of 4 challenging for the league rather than 3. However, and anything can change. However, I'm inclined to agree with you, gents. But for me, this is a fairly decent game, a decent fixture. And it could still have permutations on what happens further on down the season as well.
Yeah, it could.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like Pilks last time out. They got beat at home, didn't they? With what was it, 4-1 by Nelson?
Yeah, they were.
I
mean, and in all fairness, they were very gracious in defeat as well. I think they were good value for the defeat.
Yeah, I mean that's got to give hope to everybody underneath them that they can make the playoffs. If you're losing like that at home, it's got to give hope to the likes of Bacup and I haven't got the league table up at the minute, but
the likes of Bacup. Then you've got Nelson in 7th,
Garstang, etc.
on 32 points. So I mean, Garstang is 6 behind 5th. Now for me, that's quite a lot, even at this time of season. So
it is, but what I'm saying is, if you've got someone in 4th who are losing 4-1 at home, it's got to give the rest of the teams hope. That really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But also it shows how well the sides at the top are doing as well.
Yeah,
because they've got that consistency. Right, should we crack on with Division 1 South, gents?
Yes.
Martin, do you want to go first, second, or third?
You can read the fixtures out first, and then you can choose.
Oh, you take it away this time, Gary.
Right, okay. So Division 1 South on Monday, we have FC Isle of Man versus New Mills, and Brockton versus West Didsbury. Tuesday the 4th sees Camel Laird host Cheadle Town. So there's our 3 fixtures, gents. I'm not going to even look at Wednesday for fear of verbal scorn from Martin. So there's our 3 fixtures, gents. Martin, do you want to crack on with this one? Lead us into this one?
No, I haven't quite finished my stuff yet.
Okay. Alex, over to you then, sir.
I will start. So I think, apart from the Golcar Holker Holiday Inn game, which I think is going to be a corker, I've got another cracker in the First Division South. I know I said this last week, but the FC Isle of Man versus New Mills, I think that's going to be an incredible game. Being postponed, I think, from November, but good New Year's trip to the Isle of Man never hurt anyone. I've never been, but oh well. Anyway,
I'm not.
No, I think maybe we could go.
Not yet.
I think it might be on the cards. We could do a podcast from there. That'd be good. But yeah, it's 5th versus 2nd. I think we've kind of been over it before. New Mills, Abbey Hay, and West Didsbury seem to be the top 3 who are going away with it, with Inshore Amateurs sort of bringing up the rear of that top 4. So the Isle of Man will really just want to consolidate their position in a playoff place. They did play before Christmas. They've had a couple of weeks off, which I'm sure Chris will be very happy for the players to sort of have a little bit of a break there. They lost 5-3 to Sandbach, which was not a great result, but a heck of a game for the neutral. And I think the thing we've all picked up with the Isle of Man this year is they do score goals for fun. They just seem to score 4 or 5 every game, and it's a brilliant watch. And
I was at the game where the turning point was, in my opinion, that they went to Leeds and beat them. I think it was 5-0, 5-1 on the day,
Yes.
and that was the earlier in the season, and for me that was the turning point, because up to that point they were lower half of the table.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I've got it's not great to admit, not being neutral, but I've got a real affection for the Isle of Man. They were really good to me when I was starting off with a non-league paper. Chris gave me a really brilliant interview, and so they've been brilliant. And I think the fact that they obviously started last season but never really got going, and being able to join the league this year, I think they've been a great addition. I think we can all say that, and I think this will be a fantastic game. New Mills have been brilliant this season. They've just really gone for it, and I think their season really hinges a bit like Daisy Hill on the next few games. They've got some really tough games coming up. They've got Sandbach, West Didsbury, Cheadle Town. All of their next sort of month of fixtures are going to be really tough, and I think maybe at the end of January we'll have a very clear picture of who's going to come out on top in that division.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Just the general overview on this game as well, because it's a tough one at the top, but Isle of Man, they've got a couple of games in hand as well, so they're very much in the mix. For me, I think this is a great game, but obviously it'll be interesting to see how it pans out on a day, see how the whole experience goes, and then crack on with the rest of the season for everything. It's what's been noticeable over the last few weeks as well is that there's been one or two people in particular who've questioned about the makeup of the league, and Isle of Man were placed in the league by the FA's Leagues Committee, and they're into the second season. So they're a North West Counties League club. They're finally getting a chance to strut the stuff and do something, and that they've really gone for it this season. So fair play to them, but they're making a fist of it. So
yeah,
this should make for a good game.
It's the same as the other ones at the other end of the country, isn't it? Guernsey and Jersey.
Yeah,
they've been they applied for the National League system. They got accepted and placed in the relative, whatever league's better geographically than for them, which just happened to be North West Counties League. The league don't get a say in it. Having said that, I still don't understand why they didn't go to the Irish League, to be honest. Just because. Surely if you join the Irish League and you go up a couple of leagues, you'll be in Europe after 3 or 4 years.
Interesting theory, though. I mean, in my days on the board at Stranraer, our nearest rivals, we had Dumfries, Queen of the South, 65-mile one way. Yeah. Ayr United were considered the other rivals, 70 miles to the north. Yeah. However, if you were to jump on a boat 15 miles and go left, you can go and play Larne or the Northern Irish clubs. You had players who lived in Stranraer playing in Northern Ireland. So now it's all down to just being part of they must just cordon off a map and just say go for it. They don't look for logistics.
I think the ambition as well was to get a lot more sort of Isle of Man youth talent into the English football pyramid. I think
the same can be said for Cumbria. Just because Cleatamore are perceived as being as a wee bit out of the way, in a few years they mightn't be. There'll be other clubs around them in the National League system if they've got that ambition to pop up.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the Isle of Man that if we ever get them on the podcast. And another question I'd like to ask the Isle of Man: do you think? Obviously, the Isle of Man team has come. You've got the Isle of Man League, haven't you? There's not just one team in the Isle of Man. You've got an actual league there with other clubs. Do you think in time perhaps another club from the island might go, do you know what? We quite fancy looking at trying to join the English pyramid, and there'll be 2 teams from the Isle of Man. Do you think there's scope for that in the next couple of years, perhaps?
Well, there certainly could be. You could have City of Isle of Man or FC Douglas.
That's just Douglas. Douglas Town. Say I don't know what they called it. I don't know. Douglas Devil. Let's go with Douglas Devils.
Oh no, that sounds like US franchises now.
Exactly, like the cricket teams, you know. So Douglas Devils go, you know what, we want to join the English pyramid. It could be scope for that in the next few years, perhaps. You don't know. You know, other teams might see the success of FC Isle of Man and go, yeah, we've had to try to go down the same path. It'd be a big ask, obviously, for a second club to get the finances to pay for visiting teams to travel to the island, I guess. But
dangerous route that for me, because you could have, obviously everyone raves about the bowl, the Isle of Man facility in Douglas itself, but you could see potentially a similar situation happening in England over the years. You get a good facility in a ground that comes up for grabs, and then numerous teams want to jump in and get in on it and use that as the stepping stone to get into the National League system. So there's a little element of that in that for me, but I see where you come from with it, yeah. Martin, if you don't mind, I'll crack on with my Division 1 South game just to let you get extra prep in.
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, it's Camel Laird 1907, 16th. They host Cheadle Town in 6th. Laird's, obviously, I mentioned there, they're in 16th, but they're largely out of trouble. The last game was away at West Didsbury and Chorlton, and West Didsbury and Chorlton round 5-0 winners on that one, thus cementing their place at the top of the table, leading their way over the likes of your New Mills and what have you. Cheadle Town, they're constantly knocking on the door of the playoffs, but they're trying to batter their way into that dotted line, and they've been banging on the door now for a little while now, but they just can't get past it, largely because they're chasing the tails of obviously you mentioned their FC Isle of Man. Cheadle Town's last game was a 0-0 draw in the El Cheadle or the El Flight Patho, or whatever you want to christen that over coming seasons.
The Flight Path Derby.
The Flight Path Derby, I like that one. That 0-0 draw was Cheadle Town's 4th draw in the last 5 games. Although, looking at the bigger stats, there's only 3 defeats in the last 15 in all competitions as well. So that looks like an away win for me. But we'll see, because there could be anyone on the day.
Do you know if your attendance is the amount of people watching a match? I guess, isn't it? So yeah, with all the planes that landed, could the attendance of that been about 17,000 last Saturday, perhaps?
We'll have to have a word with HM Revenue and Customs and see if that works.
Well, people only got when they're coming into land in the brace position. Look out the window.
Hey, in a brace position.
Well, some people.
How bad's the landing at Manchester? It's been a while.
Some people will be,
brace for landing.
Don't like flying.
I think if you're in the brace position, the least of your worries is looking out the window to see if you can see the Cheadle Derby.
Well, maybe you're coming into land, you look down and you go, and it'll take your mind off it.
Yeah.
I like that one. Okay, Martin, over to you for the last game in Division 1 South.
Yeah, so the last game is Brockton versus West Didsbury and Charlton. Not a lot to say on this one because I've only just looked at it, to be honest. But Brockton, they come into this game unbeaten in 4 games. 3 of those have been 1-1 draws, though. So it sort of masks their season. They actually come into the game 15th in the league table. So they've not had a great season. Can I just divert a little bit? Do you think the Midlands teams have sort of struggled since coming into the league this season? I know Stafford Town are currently in 9th place. They sort of seem to be the best of it, but the likes of Brockton and Roster and St Martin's and stuff, they've really sort of struggled since been sort of laterally moved up to the North West Counties League. Do you think it's been a bit of a shock for them, sort of the standard perhaps?
I think there's something in that, Martin, and the rationale for that is the clubs who have gone to the way. Because the clubs who've gone to the way have actually done quite well. So I think it's an acquired taste. But yeah, I think there's certainly something in that.
Yeah, I think it really highlights the standard of the North West Counties League as one of the leading Step 5 leagues. And I guess, the fact we had 8 out the last 64 in the FA Bars this season, again, really highlights the quality of the league this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what how they feel about it as well. I mean, obviously, we've only just started these video podcasts, but there might be scope when we get a handle on the technology to have a 4th box somewhere around there and bring in someone from the clubs to have a chat about the positions. Yeah, I'm hoping at some point over the next week or so to try and speak with someone at St Martin's to see how they feel that their season's gone, because we all judge it. Everyone judges each other's season, but it'd be nice to hear from St Martin's.
Yeah.
I know they're a club looking very much to the future at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see what they think about the present.
Yeah.
But the same could be said for the likes of Roster, who are second bottom of Division 1 South. Has it been tough for them? Have they just plodded on? Is it just a good standards? You know, it's sometimes you have to give the stage that you're on a bit of credit.
Yeah, is it travelling as well? You know, you talk about Cleator Moore and Holker, they're sort of outliers at the top, but perhaps Roster players don't want to travel from that area up to Manchester and stuff. They're quite happy to stay local. So, is that a factor?
Another example as well, just to chuck it in the mix, is our friends at AFC Emily. A spin in the North West County certainly didn't do them any harm. They came in, they did enough that they found their feet. They got kicked off the park a few times, but ultimately they ended up promoted, and they're doing reasonable now in their respective Step 5 division, which is something that they've strived for a while as well. So I think we're a good place for clubs to find their feet and go for it. And when you get that momentum, they just go.
Looking at Brockton, it's easy to look at the league table and go they're in 15th place, but there's a massive disparity between the home form and their away form. They've won 6 out of the 10 games they've played at home. They've only let in 20 goals or 19 goals, which is, is decent going compared to their away record, which is they've only won 1 out of 14. They've actually lost 10 on the road, which is there's only St Martin's that have lost more on the road, really. So at home, they're quite a difficult team to beat. And they'll fancy the chances against West Didsbury and Chorlton. West come into the game. They won 5-0 last time out, which was sort of them getting back to winning ways. That was against Camelhead 1907. But, the previous 4 games to that, they'd lost or drew. So, that 5-0 win is actually the first game that they've won in 5. So, Brockton will fancy the chances. West Didsbury, the top of the league, them and New Mills are going fantastically well. They're as good on the road as they are at home. At home they're unbeaten. Away they've only lost 1 game, and that was a surprise loss, to be honest, wasn't it, the other week? This could be as well, but you've got to say that their away form's really good. They've scored 28. They've conceded only 7 goals on the road, which is ridiculous. So, on paper, you've got to go with West Didsbury and Charlton just because of their away position. But I wouldn't be surprised if they drop points here, given how decent Brockton are at home when you look into it.
My argument for a few years has been clubs who are struggling don't necessarily know how to play the dual reg system. Now, I've not looked at Brockton's squad. I'll be the first to hold my hand up on this one. But could they have players that are just playing at home because they don't fancy the travelling? I think that's something I'm going to have a little look at over the next couple of weeks to see if the clubs that are doing well at home, they're struggling, have got better players at home than the takeaway. So I know that there's, over recent years, been a couple of clubs who have had to do some travelling, and they've almost had a different half a squad for away games.
Yeah, I've never ever broke sort of squads down in home and away like that, really.
But that's my bit of analysis. The next time I get a few minutes at work and I'm bored, although I very rarely get a few spare minutes at work. And
you're very rarely bored either.
Yeah, certainly, that's the truth. But hey ho. Okay, gents. Well, that's the reviews of the games done.
Your downtime at work is generally eating Galloway's pies, I take it.
Not working Wigan anymore.
Sampling Galloway's pies.
Don't work in Wigan anymore. Galloway's is just something that I look at on the internet.
So you've not had any Galloway's pies for ages?
Bought a load for the next lockdown. They're stuck in the freezer. But I work in Blackpool these days, so my options for dining largely consist of a Sainsbury's meal deal, although other supermarkets are available, of course.
And Rock?
Meal deals are treats, Gary.
Yeah.
That's not...
Well, I get the bog standard cheese butty or cheese sandwich, depending on which side of the Watford Gap you're on, and then I pimp it up with all sorts.
Flipping it.
Of course.
Oh yeah, it's still cheaper than a Subway.
No, I've got to give a shout out to Afc Blackpool. I've never really looked at the discipline tables, but they've played 24 games this season. They've had 24 yellow cards, so 1 per game on average, and no reds. That's great discipline.
Impressive.
Well, I was going to come to that. Is there anything? I'm conscious of the fact that Alex has probably got about 8 minutes left of his studio time left. Are there any surprises for any of us looking at the league tables now? Now we're getting to the end of the calendar year. Is there anything really that surprised us in any of the tables for any reason?
So we'll start with the Prem. I mean, not just because I'm secretary there and a supporter there, obviously, but Runcorn Town's position surprises me, just based on previous years, really. As Alex mentioned before, you know, the home form's terrible, and I think that contributes a lot. You know, generally a lot of points have come at home over the last 10 years. So need to really get back to picking up points at home, really.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Have any of the sides that have gone into the division surprised you, Martin? Is there any other surprises? Have any of the clubs doing well surprised you?
We spoke about Wythenshawe, but, you know, we mentioned them, you know, a couple of times, haven't we? That they come into the league and they've done well and they got promoted and they carried that momentum with them. So although the top 5, which sort of does surprise me, it doesn't surprise me because of that momentum. But Burscough just above them, that does surprise me, to be honest. They've struggled for the last few years. They plummeted down from, well, pretty much Conference North, didn't they? They didn't stop long in the Northern Premier League, a couple of years in each, but they've dropped down to North West Counties level. The last couple of years has not been great for them in the division, but, you know, they've turned that around and they're doing well.
What clubs do when they come and join us, they get back on the feet, they dust themselves off, and they go again.
Well, we've said for years some clubs need to get relegated in order to kickstart them. You know, but a lot of that's, you know, you mentioned 3G pitches earlier, Alex. Burscough have got one. You look at their home record this season: won 8, drew 2, lost 4 at home. You know, does it make a difference that their 3G pitches help turn things around? I take it is a 3G pitch. I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've got another one for Alex, actually. Obviously, we've been ploughing Alex full of information over the last few weeks, and there's still loads more to go in. I'll wait until we play with the socials, and you got 3 emails, by the way. But from your perspective coming in and now starting to focus on the North West Counties divisions, has anything surprised you in the Premier Division? Are there any clubs there that you think you should be up there, or are you surprised that they're down there?
I think we touched on it before, and I am shocked about it. I thought Vauxhall would be a lot higher up than they are. I can understand, you know, that they had, I think they were a bit hard done by with the 1920 season getting curtailed the way it was. But they've surprised me. I thought that they would kick on and not necessarily be right at the very top, but certainly sort of in the top 7 or 8. And I feel like they will be disappointed with it themselves. I'm hoping to speak to Mick down at Vauxhall anyway this week, so that expect that to come this in about a week or so.
And for me, again, someone I've touched on before, Northwich Vicks. I just get the vibe out Northwich Vicks that there's something going to happen for them either maybe not this season now, but maybe the next season or 2. I think it'll click for them as well. I think they're due a run.
I don't.
At Mr. Fallon, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for them.
Yeah.
I just think
do you want like a proper bet on it, or?
I just think they're inconsistent, really. You know, they're prone to losing games that you shouldn't really lose. But they do. Another surprise for me when you look at the tables in the Premier before we move on to the first divisions is Barn Aldwick. 12 games at home, they've won 2, which is very un-Barn Aldwick down. Like, you know, they're usually really solid at home. It's a difficult place to go. You've got the sewer army behind the goal, giving you shit, basically. Good humoured, obviously, of course.
We're allowed to swear on this podcast.
But it's our podcast, yeah. Yeah. As long as you don't say beep, beep,
oh yeah.
Beep.
No, wouldn't dream of it.
Then yeah. Anyway,
right, before we go into Division 1,
yeah.
Before we go into Division 1, I appreciate Alex is up against the clock. So, Alex, do you need to get away for your function?
No, it's all right. Got a bit of time.
Bizarre. Division 1 North, same rules apply. what surprised you, what hasn't surprised you? And I'll start with you, Alex, in case you need to go at any point.
Yeah. I'll start with not surprised. I'm not surprised about Bury being up there.
No, me neither.
We all expected that. Not surprised by that at all. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought Darwin would be a bit better actually this season. I didn't think they were going to be quite in such a relegation battle as they are, but you know, I grant they've had a difficult time recently. So
well, AFC Darwin and St Helens Town are debunking our 3G theory, aren't they?
yeah, they really are. They really are. And I've got nothing against them personally, but yeah,
Let's take Ilkley Town as well into the mix. They were fourth from bottom. The bottom four.
Yeah.
I've just been disappointed with Darwin so far, but who knows? They might turn it around. They're certainly not relegated by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But what about you, Martin?
Holker, I guess I touched on him in preview, didn't I? Holker surprised me just based on the last couple of years. Just looking as well, I never mentioned before, they've only conceded 8 goals at home, which is the best in the division. Fair play to them. Anyone else surprised me? Not really. I don't think. From a
what about the 2 new clubs, Martin, in the division? Be gentle.
Ilkley, I thought probably they'd be higher because I always think teams struggle, when they get laterally moved into us. But they were promoted. Exactly, that's what I'm about to say. They come into us as a promoted club, so you expect a bit of momentum with them. So the fact that they're 16th possibly surprises me, but they'll come into it going, right, we're in step 6 now, we're in North West County's first season is all about survival. Don't get relegated again because it undoes all the hard work that you've done, and then kick on from there. So perhaps they've set themselves up to just put toes in the water when they're playing these teams and then kick on in future. You don't know. But, promoted clubs generally do okay. Well, the South Liverpool were promoted as well, weren't they? And they're only 14. So perhaps that's the highlight of the strength of the First Division North this year.
I'd agree.
The two new clubs have struggled.
I don't think either are going to end up relegated.
No, I don't. I mean, the line's there above Atherton LR for relegation. But I think with the amount of reprieves that are going to be coming at the end of this season, is 17th is going to be safe, potentially 18th as well.
Yeah. What about St Helens Town? Because they're starting to rack up the wins. Is it too little, too late, or is there still overriding hope for St Helens Town? Oh yeah, there's still overriding hope. Definitely. Yeah. I don't think there's too many surprises there for me. Maybe Garstang. Give me a league. Give me a football league, Gary. The combined counties. Oh, hold on, I've tried that one, haven't I? Yeah. Let's go for the Thurlow Nunn League. You read my mind. I'd already typed in Eastern Counties League. So yeah. Right, go on. You can carry on talking while I look at the tables for them. Excellent. So as I was saying, I was at Garstang at the start of the season. They've got big hopes and aspirations at Garstang. By no means illusions of grandeur, but they do want to crack on and develop. And I was quite impressed with them in the first game of the season. I think it was against Steeton at the time. Not Steeton, it was Campion. And they've got a fairly decent setup there. But Garstang in 8th, 32 points. For me, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I sort of expected them to be challenging. I expected them to be in that mix. And Nelson as well. Nelson having a good season. So I'm pleasantly surprised by them. And likewise, looking at the other end of the table, I'm maybe a little bit shocked at Atherton LR. Or am I? Maybe not. And Daisy Hill. Daisy Hill made some really good sides, like Jordan Cover and so on. But maybe they've just taken a little bit of time to click. So, Martin, shall I move into Division 1 South, or you're getting a stat? Yeah, you're just saying about St Helens Town there. So you just picked a league at random. So the First Division North in the Eastern Counties League, bottom team is Wisbeck St Mary's. Played 17, won none,
drew 1, lost 16. And in the First Division South is Haverhill Borough, played 20, won 1, drew 4, lost 15. So you look at St Helens, they won 3, drew 4. On a points per game basis, that puts them well above them 2 random leagues we've just picked at, and it's going to come down to points per game. So, they just need to keep on plugging every point that they pick up, and same with Darwin and LR. Whoever's in the bottom 3, and this applies to the South Division as well. Every point you pick up is going to be really important, because at the end of the season, it's all going to be ranked in a points per game league, and the cutoff will be at some point in that list of teams. So every point is valuable.
Yep. So that dotted line doesn't necessarily mean that you're toast. It does mean that the pressure's on a little bit to get every bit of value you can out of every game.
Yeah. And I mean that there's 3 down because I think there's something like 48 county leagues, isn't there, underneath our first divisions. Not every one of them is going to promote a team, so you could virtually say 17th will be safe, 18th as good as safe,
probably.
Yeah, 19th you need to pick up as many points as possible. But yeah, every point helps, really.
Any take on that, Alex?
On the First Division North, or where
yeah, on Division 1 North. I'll move into Division 1 South next. But if you're done with Division 1 North, we'll move swiftly on. Yeah. So Division 1 South, Alex, first crack.
Yeah, Division 1 South, I think I feel like it's a bit boring to say, but I have actually genuinely been impressed with West Didsbury and Chorlton.
There's nothing wrong with that. They've been very impressive.
Yeah. Not trying to show sort of my Manchester bias slightly, but yeah, West Didsbury and Charlton I think have been great this season. Played some brilliant football. I've been lucky enough to get down a couple of times, and always very, very good hosts. Got a great chicken curry pie, love it. But yeah, I think they've been really impressive. I did expect them at the beginning of the season to be near the top, but to be leading the way for quite some time now, I think is really impressive. I think if we're looking at a team that I would want a bit more from, or expected a bit more from, is Stockport Town. The 3G, 4G, whatever it is, debate sort of rages on there, and I think they've got a really good setup, and are definitely good enough as a club to get out of that division. And I would have expected them to be nearer to the playoffs, certainly, but they're sort of 10th at the moment. So
yeah, I think it's impressive the fact that you've got a few teams up there as well, because obviously, just up the road from West Didsbury, you got Abbey Hay.
Yeah,
they're making a fist of it, and New Mills are certainly injecting some life into the title challenge. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement up there. It's still all to play for, and the playoffs they're still accessible for a few.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Division South is a really interesting division. I think they're all going to be very interesting come the end of the year. But there are a few really good clubs in those playoff positions at the moment. So anyone who gets in there, it's going to be a real cracker of a playoff.
Well, I'll put my whatever it's
in your
called.
colours to the mast.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to pin my colours to the mast. So the current top 5 will be the current top 5 at the end. I can't see any of them 4 in the playoffs not being in the playoffs. So
I think there's something in that.
Yeah, New Mills, Abbey Hay, Withenshaw Amateurs, Isle of Man. I'll be.
Weirdly, I could just see Sandbach. They'd have to go on a very, very good run of form, but I reckon they could.
Again,
wouldn't put it past them, but they'd have to go some.
They'd really have to go some. But if you're listening to Sandbach,
yeah,
you got my back.
We'll come on to the. I mean, just to finish off that, I can't really split the top 3. So West Didsbury, New Mills, Abbey Hay. I couldn't say at this stage, which one of them is going to win the league, but we'll come back to that in a minute. When I put you all on the spot. But yeah, to come back to the original question, which was who's impressed me. New Mills, I'd say maybe. the last couple of years they've been mid-table. So, they've probably impressed me out of anyone. West Didsbury have done, they've been there or thereabouts the last few years, as have Abbey Hay, Wythenshawe Amateurs. FC Alemanni I expected to do well coming into the league. But yeah, New Mills have probably surprised me. They've done really well. And again, you've got to give credit to the management team for putting the squad together to do that. Anyone else surprised me? Not really. More disappointment.
Well, I'm going to throw a disappointment in straight off the bat, and I'm going to say Alsager Town.
Yeah.
I expect them to be thereabouts.
Yeah.
Certainly top 8 every season. For me this season, I don't know what's gone on there. It's just, I don't know if it's a hangover from the break or what. But for me, they should be much higher than they are, and I'm sure they'll come good. It's just disappointing to see them fourth bottom.
Yeah.
Potentially struggling.
Yeah.
Well, Alsager Town, for me, they're a Premier Division team. I know you're new to the league, Alex, but they dropped into the league basically from the Northern Premier League in the around about 1999 type thing. They got relegated in 2016, and I think we said, Gary, didn't we? They need to bounce back straight away. In podcasts we were doing at the time.
I think,
and they never, and they've become a first division team now. West Didsbury, they bounced back, but they've always been there and thereabouts. I'll say it's like they've just said, okay, we're a first division team now.
Yeah. I've got I'd say an average story of Alsager. Just to sort of show that I know the league a little bit. I was lucky enough at uni to play in a cup final for the team I was playing for, and we were made up of sort of pretty good Sunday league kind of players. Would go out the night before a game, didn't take it too seriously. We got to this cup final, we actually lost on penalties. Didn't think anything more of it apart from obvious disappointment. And 6 months later, I went down to West Didsbury versus Alsager, and the opposing team's captain was playing at right back. So it kind of showed the mismatch of the levels. Sorry, that was just my little story.
That's nearly as good as a name drop, that.
Yeah, I just thought, we could have Alex's tangent of the week.
Yeah. The right back whose name was Gary Neville. Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Martin, do you want to put us on the spot before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I will in a minute. So I'd agree with Alsager as an underachiever, but I've got to say Sandbach as well. In my eyes, that they're a top. They should be in the playoffs. Really, they should be up there challenging for the league or in the playoffs. They've got a good manager, good facilities. They just need to do it one season. They keep winning the First Division Cup, but I want them to actually get up to that Premier Division. Really.
Fair play.
What about yourself? Any underachievers?
I've highlighted Alsager.
We've not said. Lairds, maybe?
Alex?
No, that's all from me.
I think we're there, aren't we? Go on, Martin, put us on the spot, then we'll wrap it up.
So yeah, just on the spot is basically, we've got these are the Christmas tables, and generally, if you top at Christmas, you go on to win the league. So we're going to say, are the current teams going to win the league? So West Didsbury and Charlton, yes or no?
Yes.
I'd agree with that. It's going to be tight, but I just think, they're giving their home form, the crowd behind them, the fact that they've got the best away form in the league as well, that they're going to carry on and win that.
Yeah.
First Division North, this is the toughie. Golcar, top at Christmas. But Bury are 3 points behind with 2 games in hand.
I can't look beyond Bury. I think if you haven't lost a game in the season so far, even if you're not top, it's very difficult to look beyond that.
Yeah,
they're playing good football as well, and they're not going out and signing the best player from the opposition from the last game every week. They've got a good settled squad. They're playing good football. They're banging the goals in, and they're getting applauded for it. So fair play.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Golcar.
Big cool. Well, I'll see you all at the Golcar versus Bury game at the end of the season. Yeah,
the only reason I say that is obviously they've won 8 out of 9 at home, so like I said before, a lot of their games to come in the running are at home, and they're obviously doing really good at home. One of them is Bury, so it's going to be a massive 6 points of that, but it's in their hands. It's in Golcar's hands, basically. Yeah.
Cool.
You could argue it's in Bury's hands as well, but yeah.
I'm just reeling away in shock at that one.
But yeah, I'm going for Golcar just basically because they've still got a lot to play at home.
And then we've got the Prem, haven't we?
Premier, Macclesfield top as it sits. Skelmersdale 5 points behind, which is a big gap. And then Charnock and the rest at least 10 points behind. So are we going with Macclesfield as Premier Division champions?
Yeah, why not?
I'm going to go against that. And I think just for the sheer underdog story of it, I'm going to back Skelmersdale. I know
you'll end up with 100 new Twitter followers.
Yeah, can't wait.
He's only doing it for followers.
I need it. Go follow me. No, I think I'm saying that more out of optimism that I would like a bit of a title race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, I'm a Chelsea fan and we're very much out of it now. So I've got some optimism somewhere.
Yeah, I can't look past Macclesfield, to be honest, basically because of the home form. You know, won 12, drew 1, lost none. That 1 to Runcorn Town. How's that work? Should have been a loss. Anyway.
Do we want to look at relegation, or is that a touchy subject for you, Martin?
Well, it's not really, but because there's so many variables, we don't know how many's going to go down. On paper, it's
fair point. We mightn't even see anyone go down.
On paper, it's 2. Well, I think not Litherland. I think whoever finishes bottom has to go down. You know, it's a rule.
And Martins will go
from step 5. I think there's a rule in there, so that
I think there's a rule that one will get relegated, but you know, I think second potentially could get reprieved because there's going to be reprieve further up the pyramid. There's gaps further up the pyramid, like Droylsden, for example. They never filled that gap and stuff. So I think they're going to do that at the end of this season and make sure that every league's full. You know, there was a couple of more teams pulled out, wasn't there? So there's going to be reprieves. And similarly in the first division, like I outlined before, 17th and 18th, they're going to get reprieved because teams aren't applying for promotion. So it's always difficult, basically. Yeah. And obviously, there's no point asking me because I'm going to say who's going to finish bottom, Litherland or Runcorn Town. I'm obviously not going to say Runcorn Town, am I?
That would be blasphemy.
That would be as mad as somebody picking Golcar over Bury to win the league.
Or Skelmersdale over Mac, yeah.
All right then, gents. I think we're all done, aren't we? Okay, folks. So we'll wrap this up. On the subject of Twitter, at Mr. Fallon, if you want to follow Martin. At Alex Thrower4 if you want to follow Alex. And I think mine's just my name. So there's all the social stuff. But what's important for us as a league for this channel, is that we are building up, ready for the next generation of media guys to take it forward and to use it for a lot of stuff. We are hoping to use it for interviews, for other features and so on. And when we can figure out some snazzy graphics. But in order to do that, we would like you to like this video. I'm not going to start pointing because otherwise I'll end up doing the rave thing and I'll end up as a GIF. But anyway, like the video, please, if you could, and please do hit the subscribe. It is free. It's not one of these paid subscription things. It just links to your YouTube likes, but it does help us go forward as a league. These are the mediums of the future. You know, people are churning these out now on a regularish basis, and also we'd like to think that it gives you an idea of our lines of thought, what we're thinking, and puts a human face on the league, because we are all volunteers ourselves, and that's what we do. Like, so Alex gives up his time, Martin's giving up his time, I'm forever giving up the dinner hour to type stuff out. We're volunteers just like everyone else, and just like you, if you're volunteering at a club, and if you don't volunteer at a club, why not give them a shout? It's quite rewarding. So anyway, that's all the nice stuff done. I'd like to thank Alex. Alex, thank you very much for your appearance today.
Thank you.
Martin, in somewhere beginning with P, possibly Portugal or Prestatyn. Thank you very much again, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say somewhere else beginning with P, but I can't. Perth. I'm in Perth, Australia this week.
Love Perth, Australia.
It's a beautiful city.
Come Perth, Scotland. St Johnstone away. Oh, it's cold.
No, Perth. Beautiful
Anyway, no
stuff.
lucky turnip for me this week either. So,
Oh,
right.
how did you go on with all your turnips anyway? Did you get rid of them all?
Oh, I got rid of them. Anyone who walking past on the ring doorbell, would you like a turnip?
No, that's a turnip for the book.
Hey,
Right, I'm in.
Yeah.
never
Right,
gets
well,
old.
We've got to go.
Never
after
gets
that.
old. On that note, it's time to call it a day. Right, thanks everyone. That's us. Peace out. Mic drop and all that. Chin chin.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.